region.
And in fact, we can join our correspondent Igor Rodnov live now from the Tюмень region. Now, Igor, what makes this Siberian region so special for everyone?
Well, there are several answers to this, because when you're talking about the Tюмень region, you're not just talking about the cities and you're not just talking about the countryside, and there's a lot of difference between the two. If you go to Tюмень, you wouldn't actually notice very much difference between it and any other kind of rich, prosperous Russian place. There are a lot of new buildings. You get all the same chain restaurants as you'd expect to get anywhere else. You get all the same shops and all the same facilities. And the people here, they imitate the lifestyles of people in Moscow. They listen to Russian music from the capital. They listen to Western music. They watch Western films. They have all the facilities to lead the modern lifestyle. But in order to find the real kind of special, different Siberia, you'd have to go to the places like the village, which you can see in my report, where we visited. And, you know, you could see that how relatively poor this village was, but also how difficult the life there was. Not only is it inaccessible, but they don't even have basic electricity for more than 6 or 7 hours a day. They get it in the evening, between, say, 7 o'clock in the evening and 11 at night, and also for 1 hour in the morning. The rest of the time, they don't even have electricity, not to mention anything like running water. And particularly when you're talking about winter, when you're talking about temperatures of minus 35, imagine what it's like to be living without electricity or hot water. It obviously makes their lives much more difficult. So if we're talking about how different Siberia is, you definitely have to talk about different places to find out. Now, also, I've got with me Agrippina Polomarchuk, who's a local journalist, and you probably know more about Siberian traditions than I do. What is so different about Siberia?
You know, first of all, it's about how to live against this cold, you know. We have a really cold winter this year, and it was a time to refresh memories, how to live, how to survive, you know, when it's so cold. But as we can say, Siberian man is not who don't feel cold, but who know how to wear right way, you know, so...
But what about the people? Do you think that this cold weather, this difficult lifestyle, it changes the personality of the people?
Yeah, I think it's about the spirit, you know. Siberia and Tюмень especially is a place where people, a lot of cultures and religions live together in peace, you know. And we have different traditions, like Russian religion traditions and traditions of Siberian Tatars, and altogether, I think it's collects a nice Siberian spirit, you know.
And just one last question. Do you think these traditions are disappearing slowly with the advent of modern civilization, or do you think that these traditions will remain forever?
I think Tюмень is a modern city, but nowadays even young people prefer to remember about traditions and to live with the memories about old days and what our dads and granddads prefer to do, and to celebrate different dates, you know.
Thank you. Thank you. And I was talking to Agrippina Polomarchuk, who's a local journalist, telling us about what's so different about Western Siberia.
Interesting stuff. Thank you very much indeed. For now, we'll speak to you later. Now then, continuing our close-up series. This week we've been exploring Russia's third largest region, Tюмень, in Western Siberia. Okay, well this time we're taking you to some towns and villages that bring you an authentic Siberian flavour. The region is home to more than 30 ethnic groups and is believed to be the birthplace of the famous Russian dish pelmeni. Well, RT's correspondent Igor Ogorodnev joins us live to tell us more. Hello to you, Igor. What makes this Siberian region just so special?
Well, if you're going to be talking about the specialty, the difference between any region, you must include its people. And in order to understand the people of Western Siberia better, I decided to look into the history of these people and to find out what formed their personalities and how this group of people came to have its own specific characteristics. Of course, Siberia wasn't Russian until mostly the 17th to 18th century. It was slowly colonized. So the people who came here from European Russia were a very special sort. These people were very fiercely independent. That's one of the things that everybody says marked them out from the rest of Russians. There are people who perhaps wanted to get away from control. They want to explore something a little bit like the people who explored the Wild West in America. It was a special kind of person who'd have the courage to leave their comfortable or maybe poor life in Western Russia and move all the way across here into this harsh climate. And the other thing which marked them out was their entrepreneurial spirit. This is the other thing which they always mention, that Siberians came here looking for wealth. Even in those centuries, they're looking to exploit the resources which the region had to offer. So those are two things that mark these people out. But another thing which seems to be quite specific is the religious belief of these people. Whilst in Russia it may have been eroded, in Western Russia it may have been eroded to a large extent, this still remains a very orthodox, a very religious area. And the difference is marked in how people celebrate their religious ceremonies and also in the attitudes of the people I've spoken to here. But to spot more differences and more special features of Siberian people, here's my report. You can tell an ordinary Russian and a Siberian apart in the blink of an eye, wrote one 19th century anthropologist. In those days, Siberians wore different clothes, ate different food, and hunted different animals. But what about now? My journey began in Tюмень, but the big city was all shiny oil-funded skyscrapers and shopping malls, much like any other prosperous Russian outpost. So, I decided to travel to Yalutorovsk, a small town just outside.
Парня молодого полюбила я. Парня полюбила на свою беду.
Pelmeni. These humble meat dumplings came from here to dominate the Russian cuisine. But only in Siberia do they put them in soup or fill them with cabbage and jam, making sure you can have pelmeni as a starter, main dish, and dessert. Although it may draw the ire of animal lovers, most people in Siberia see nothing wrong with hunting, though only a few decide to participate.
You go over there, and you go in the middle, and I'll go to the left.
Смотри, куница.
Look, a pine marten.
Видишь какая?
Laitamak is in the middle of a swamp, only accessible by air transport in the summer months. In winter, a path is cleared through the ice. It's inhabited by Siberian Tatars, a large Muslim Turkic minority that migrated here before the Russians.
Городская жизнь мне не нравится.
I was born here. I grew up here. I don't like city life. I used to have a job driving a tractor, but now times have changed. There are no jobs. I just live off what I grow and catch.
And this is real Siberia. Maybe not the stuff of tourist brochures, but distinctive enough to show that after all these years, Siberia is still not quite like anywhere else. Igor Ogorodnev, RT, Tyumen region. I'm now joined by Maria Kondratovich, who is a popular radio presenter here. We were talking about the people of Siberia in the past. What about the people of Siberia now? Is there anything which makes them different?
So we are living in a frost kingdom. That's why here we are so friendly and so handsome. And we need to be so hardworking because we have no opportunity to walk in near the sea and taking some seafood and eating it. Now we need to work so hard because winter is so long and so cold, and we need to have some money and some preparing already food. because we need to live here. We can eat in a lot of mushrooms and cranberries and preparing cooking in the winter, because we have no opportunity to walk in the winter time and spend our time here like in summer, like in warm countries.
Absolutely. So you think the climate is the biggest difference between here and
absolutely. The climate is the biggest difference, and the climate it's like, as I already said, is like in Frost Kingdom. Everybody asking, where are you from? Are you from Siberia? Oh my God, it's impossible to live here. Now you see me, I am living here, and I'm happy to live here, and I am without any cap, as you see, and as you already seen, the people here is absolutely beautiful. Especially ladies, we have really beautiful ladies. So welcome here in Siberia. I guess we are happy here. Of course, sometimes we want to come in some countries where they have sea and swimming and have a lot of sun. But here in Siberia, sun is really bright. It's okay.
I'm enjoying it here. Thank you very much. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
We've been speaking to Maria Kondratovich, who's a radio presenter working here in Tyumen.
Yes, the beautiful people of Siberia. Igor Ogorodnev, live in the Tюмень region. Thank you. Now we're continuing our close-up series. This week we've been exploring Russia's third largest region, Tюмень, in western Siberia. Yes, this time we're taking you to some towns and villages that bring you an authentic Siberian flavour. The region is home to more than 30 ethnic groups and is believed to be the birthplace of the famous Russian dish, pelmeni. Well, RT's correspondent Igor Ogorodnev joins us live to tell us more. It's a fascinating area, Igor. What makes this Siberian region so special?
Well, one of the things which you can't avoid mentioning is their ethnicity. Actually, if you look at the simple as the bare statistics of what's going on in this region, apparently more than 90% are officially ethnically Russian, and only 8% are of any other different nationalities. But I think what the people who say that they're Russian, it's a little bit more complicated than this. The Russians were only the last ethnicity to colonize this place, to visit here. Before here, there was life going on, before this became a part of the Russian Empire. And a lot of the people who say that they're Russian may only be a part Russian, they may be a part of a great ethnic mix. Because what happened here is that there were indigenous people here all the way through the first 1,000 years of this millennium, but also after this. This became a part of the Golden Horde's conquest. This was conquered by the Golden Horde. Then there were Turkic people moving up from the south as well. And only then, only in the 16th and the 17th centuries did the Russians come in. So even if you look at the people here, they do look different, even if they say that they're Russian. They do look different to people elsewhere. There's a great ethnic mix. And of course, the main minority which has to be spoken about is the Tatars. The Tatars who are southern people, who have their own language, who are Muslim, and so are quite fundamentally different from the ethnic Russians who are living here. So it's a fascinating ethnic mix, and you can see the different styles of these people, and you can see the different lives which they're leading in my report. You can tell an ordinary Russian and a Siberian apart in the blink of an eye, wrote one 19th century anthropologist. In those days, Siberians wore different clothes, ate different food, and hunted different animals. But what about now? My journey began in Tyumen, but the big city was all shiny oil-funded skyscrapers and shopping malls, much like any other prosperous Russian outpost. So, I decided to travel to Yalutorovsk, a small town just outside.
Парня молодого полюбила я. Парня полюбила на свою беду.
Pelmeni. These humble meat dumplings came from here to dominate the Russian cuisine. But only in Siberia do they put them in soup or fill them with cabbage and jam, making sure you can have pelmeni as a starter, main dish, and dessert. Although it may draw the ire of animal lovers, most people in Siberia see nothing wrong with hunting, though only a few decide to participate.
You go over there, and you go in the middle, and I'll go to the left.
Смотри, куница.
Look, a pine marten.
Видишь какая?
Laitamak is in the middle of a swamp, only accessible by air transport in the summer months. In winter, a path is cleared through the ice. It's inhabited by Siberian Tatars, a large Muslim Turkic minority that migrated here before the Russians.
Городская жизнь мне не нравится.
I was born here. I grew up here. I don't like city life.
Раньше работа была.
I used to have a job driving a tractor, but now times have changed. There are no jobs. I just live off what I grow and catch.
And this is real Siberia. Maybe not the stuff of tourist brochures, but distinctive enough to show that after all these years, Siberia is still not quite like anywhere else.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Igor Ogorodnev, RT, Tyumen region. I'm now joined by Leyla Tuktabayeva, who is a restaurant manager here in the Tyumen region, but also an ethnic Tatar. Now, tell me, is there anything different about the Tatars? I mean, we were talking about some differences before, but you have the actual experience.
I think every nation is a unique phenomenon, and also our nation is so specific and has so special peculiarities in its culture, traditions, and other things. I think traditions, it's a way to see how our ancestors lived before, and carefully attitude towards these culture, towards our tradition, help to keep these traditions today. And so our modern generations can touch it and can see something necessary for their life today.
So would you say that Tatars are closer to their traditions than, say, Russians who live here, perhaps?
So maybe, but I can say that Tatar people maybe pay so much attention for our tradition, maybe more than other nations in our country, because as usual we can see that fundamental traditions are kept in it, and they are hospitality, they are diligence and love of children, respect of elders, who are an example for modern generations. So.
What about religion?
Of course, most of our Tatar people are Muslim, and many traditional holidays are connected with these Muslim some traditions. So, such as Kurban Bayram, it is holidays when people celebrate the end of Ramadan, and they put on the best clothes. They go to the mosque and they help other people, poor people, with the money, and so phenomenon as zakat, when people give money for poor people and try to share happiness with them.
Well, one last question I have for you. We were talking about religion just then, and in other places there's a lot of religious tension between Christians and Muslims. Is that the same phenomenon here? Do you get a lot of tension between Christians and Muslims here in Siberia?
Yeah, of course, there are a lot of difference between different religions, and I think in our country everyone has a chance to take his own choice in his life, and everyone has a chance to live according to his religion. So it isn't a problem, and everyone loves each other and respects each other.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're talking to Leyla Tuktabayeva, who's an ethnic Tatar who runs an ethnic restaurant here in the Tyumen region.
Yes, great variety of culture and life there, Igor. Thank you very much indeed for joining us for now. Well, do check out our website at rt.com.
We're continuing our close-up series. This week we've been exploring Russia's third largest region, Tyumen, in western Siberia. This time, we're taking you to some towns and villages that bring you an authentic Siberian flavor. The region is home to more than 30 ethnic groups and is believed to be the birthplace of the famous Russian dish pelmeni. RT's correspondent Igor Ogorodnev joins us live to tell us more. Hello, Igor. So what makes this Siberian region so special?
Well, this Siberian region is special in some ways, and in other ways it's just like other places. For example, if you're talking about the identity of these people, whether they feel different to anywhere else, then maybe it's not as different as you'd expect. You have to look at the history of Western Siberia. You have to see that it was a part of the Soviet Union, and in the Soviet Union these regions were not necessarily encouraged to express their own individual identity, and they were forced to conform with a more general view of themselves as Russians. And also, of course, you can't stop globalization. The people here living in Western Siberia, they have access to all the same films, to all the same chain restaurants, to all the same shops as people almost anywhere in the world. So in that way, this place isn't so different, but of course you can't take away its unique nature. One of the things you have to talk about is the ethnic mix of people here. The ethnic mix of people is very unusual. Russians, Tatars, indigenous people who've lived here for thousands of years, and so this is something which makes this place absolutely unique. And of course you have to also talk about the fact that this geographical location of this place is thousands of miles from Western Europe. It's 2,000 kilometers from the capital of Russia as well. So this unique geographical location, it's kind of quite an isolated place, and that's going to have an impact on the identity of these people, on how they feel and what access they have to the rest of Russia, not to mention the rest of the world. So in some ways it's the same, in some ways it's different, and I was exploring more of the differences, more of the specialties of Western Siberia in my report.
You can tell an ordinary Russian and a Siberian apart in the blink of an eye, wrote one 19th century anthropologist. In those days, Siberians wore different clothes, ate different food, and hunted different animals. But what about now? My journey began in Tюмень, but the big city was all shiny oil-funded skyscrapers and shopping malls, much like any other prosperous Russian outpost. So, I decided to travel to Yalutorovsk, a small town just outside.
Парня молодого полюбила я. Парня полюбила на свою беду.
Pelmeni. These humble meat dumplings came from here to dominate the Russian cuisine. But only in Siberia do they put them in soup or fill them with cabbage and jam, making sure you can have pelmeni as a starter, main dish, and dessert.
Although it may draw the ire of animal lovers, most people in Siberia see nothing wrong with hunting, though only a few decide to participate.
You go over there, and you go in the middle, and I'll go to the left.
Смотри, куница.
Look, a pine marten.
Видишь какая?
Laitamak is in the middle of a swamp, only accessible by air transport in the summer months. In winter, a path is cleared through the ice. It's inhabited by Siberian Tatars, a large Muslim Turkic minority that migrated here before the Russians.
I was born here. I grew up here. I don't like city life. I used to have a job driving a tractor, but now times have changed. There are no jobs. I just live off what I grow and catch.
And this is real Siberia. Maybe not the stuff of tourist brochures, but distinctive enough to show that after all these years, Siberia is still not quite like anywhere else. Igor Ogorodnev, RT, Tyumen region.
I'm standing next to Amanda Boatwright, who moved here about 2 years ago.
Yes.
And so have you noticed anything special about Western Siberia and anything unique about its identity?
I
would have to say it's the people, in that they don't let the weather stop them. They'll come outside in all kinds of weather and do activities outside, from New Year's Eve, shooting fireworks, standing in the streets, having parties. In the summer, when the sky is light almost all night long, people are out walking about. Back to the winter, when they cut holes in the ice and jump in for fun, and go to the banyas every weekend when possible. It's got to be the people.
But do you find them easy to understand? Do you have an affinity with them, or are there often cultural misunderstandings, perhaps?
Definitely cultural misunderstandings. I have a habit of smiling and saying hi to strangers when I first moved here, and didn't realize that people were very surprised by that. They wanted to know what it was I was asking of them. But I have found that the people, when you're introduced to them, are so warm and friendly, very welcoming, and willing to walk you down to the street and show you where something is, or go out of their way to help you.
Thank you, Amanda. We're speaking to Amanda Boatright, who's an expat who's moved here to Western Siberia and has been living here for 2 years.
All right, definitely looks cold there, but looks like a wonderful place. Thank you, Igor Orgorodnev, reporting from Siberia.